Welcome back to the Mega Meeple, the show all about gamers and the games that bring them together. I'm your host, Tom, and I want to thank you for hitting that download button. Now, if you like what you hear, please be sure to subscribe to the podcast on iTunes. And while you're there, leave us some kind words and put out some of that 5-star loving, okay? We'd really appreciate that. And I promise I'll call you in the morning. Now, if you have any ideas or suggestions of what you want to hear about, or maybe a topic, a discussion about the board games, now you can contact us through our website. It's www.themegameeple.com, and go to our social media page. All the links to our pages like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, yada, 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 blah, blah, blah. You know all the ones. Okay, it can be found there at our social media page. And now you can also hear the podcast on our YouTube channel, as well as some unboxing videos, as boring as they are, but evidently unboxing videos is a thing, so I do them, oh well. And you can also see some reviews of games and gaming accessories, and the link to that is also on our social media page on the website. All right. This is episode 8 of the Mega Meeple. Welcome back. I'm your host, Tom. And let's see, a lot of things going on this past week. I'm sure all those that have gone to Origins have gotten back home, gotten back into the rhythm of things. And hopefully you've been able to crack open all those boxes of games that you guys got there and got those at the table and play a bit. If you went to Origins and you had fun, you got some games, you let me know. Contact us through the webpage or email me directly. Again, all those links to social media and stuff like that is found on the page, themegameeple.com. So let's see, what have I been playing? We was able to get another mission done of Mechs versus Minions. We did mission 8. That is the one where we had to take the bomb from one side of the board to the all the way to the other side into the lair of the minions and blow it up. And it took us almost 3 hours to get that mission done. So we got 2 more missions left, and so I'm thinking, yeah, those last 2 missions it's going to be pretty hard to get or get done and succeed. And again, we're doing all these missions on the easy mode, so I don't know if that tells you a lot of our playing ability or anything. But some encouraging thing we think maybe perhaps. But Chris Cantrell of Riot Games He posted something on Board Game Geek this past week that might possibly maybe hint of some new material or expansions maybe of Mechs versus Minions. Yeah, it's all kind of tenuous and not, it's one of those things that he said is that the people, the fans of the game, would not be disappointed. So evidently Riot Games is planning a little something extra in addition to Mechs vs. Minions. I got some a little care package in the mail. I got the next 2 decks for Arkham Horror, the living card game. I got a game of Last Friday. They're actually in the process now. Pretty soon, going to be releasing the first expansion to that game. Evidently, they're going to adding the whole. The whole Last Friday thing is the whole, Friday the 13th, trope. I think they're adding a monster or something that looks suspiciously like Freddy Krueger to the mix now. So we'll see when that comes out. What else did I get? I got the expansion to Mystic Vale, Veil of the Wild. Now, that was the second one. The Veil of Magic is the first expansion. Veil of the Wild is the most recent expansion, and it's pretty neat because it adds 2 new mechanics to the game. I mean, the game already has an interesting thing of the whole card crafting, but now with Veil of the Wild, it introduces something called Eclipse cards and Leader cards. Now, the Eclipse cards are the symbol on those slides. As you know, normally you're not allowed to put a card into the slot into your sleeve that covers up another section. You can't put an advancement card that has a top ability onto another card that has a top ability. It has to be some other, either the middle or the bottom. Well, these particular slides here has an eclipse symbol on it. So if you have an eclipse advancement in your sleeve of the card, you could then put a regular advancement on top of that. But if there's any like points or anything that's covered up, then those are considered null and void. They're no longer applicable. And then if you have a card that already has an advancement card in it, and you have an Eclipse advancement, you could slide that Eclipse advancement in and behind the advancement that's already in your card. But, you cannot put an Eclipse advancement on top of another Eclipse advancement. And then they introduce things called Leader cards. And basically, it's an optional mechanic to the game. You basically decide before you start the game whether you want to play with a leader card. And then you would deal out 2 leaders to each of the player. They will choose one, put the other one in the box. And then they would take, in their starting deck, you have 8 blank cards. So you would take your leader card and you would sleeve it into one of your blank cards, and that in a sense is a completed card. You are not able to put any more advancements on that card. That card is complete and finished. And then it also has 2 sides. It has a beginning side, and then in the upper right hand corner you could pay an upgrade cost when that card is in your field, and then you could just basically flip the card over to the other side and you get some additional mana and additional abilities and stuff attributed to that. So yeah, that looks like another game that I have to get back out onto the table and play with those 2 new mechanics and see how that goes. Well, this past week, as my Pathfinder group, I talked in earlier episodes where we had finished the Iron Gods campaign, and then we had a session 0, we called it, where it's basically we just got together and created our characters for this new campaign coming up that we're going to start in a few weeks. And I actually had the idea of going in and recording our RPG sessions, because these other podcasts out there that do basically the whole episode is people playing a role-playing game. Now, understand, a lot of that stuff is already scripted, but I was thinking of maybe just recording our group doing our Pathfinder sessions, and it will be totally unscripted. I mean, we don't even know what the heck we're going to say before we say it. Our sessions are so much fun. I mean, think of RPG meets Mystery Science Theater 3000, and that's basically our sessions. Now, I don't know how often we put these out. If I do this will be more of a supplement episodes in addition to the Mega Meeple. It all depends. The frequency really depends on how often we get together to play that campaign. We may have 2 or 3 weeks in between, a gaming night. I think it will be something that people may be interested in, and we'll just go from there. I also want to get some ideas of some top lists that I could do. It's the middle of the year, and a lot of people are doing like their top 10 or top 20 or top 100 or whatever. And I don't want to, every Tom, Dick, and Harry seems to be doing it, but I want to try to do something different with them. So if you have any ideas of any top lists that I could do that you'd like to see or hear, again, let me know. We here at the Mega Meeple are celebrating this past week because we got our very first 5-star review on iTunes. That's right. A big shout out to Cannet196. That's Cannet 196. They left a very good review. That left a 5-star review on iTunes. Said this is awesome. And their comment was, I've listened to all these episodes while driving in the car. I love them and I can't wait for more. Little heart shape. Thank you so much, Cannet196. Big shout out to you. And I'm sure you're listening to this episode right now, driving in the car. Thank you so much. And again, yes, please subscribe to the podcast on iTunes. Leave us a good rating and some nice happy comments and stuff like that. We do appreciate it very much, and I'll even give a shout out to you as well. And there's a joke among content creators. I think it's primarily more for YouTube creators rather than podcast. Although podcast, I'm sure, does have their share of this. But the usual joke is you haven't really arrived and you haven't truly made it unless you have your first crawl. Now, don't consider that an invitation. All right? I'm just saying, that's... Although I think it would be pretty hilarious if I got my first crawl this coming week. Go from one extreme to the other. I got my very first 5-star review, and this week I'll probably get my first crawl. So hey, we're moving on up. Now, in the community of gamers, the whole gaming thing is about the people and the relationships and the memories that you make with people and just being social. But the other side of that coin is you get to meet all kinds of really interesting people. So I came across this blog. It is at letsreviewboardgames.com. And I'll put a link to them and to this specific blog in the show notes for this episode. It's episode 8. But they wrote a blog about 10 types of people who ruin game night. Game nights are supposed to be fun. A time to get together with friends, stretch your brain and muscle a little bit, and pursue some personal glory. Nevertheless, game nights can quickly go downhill if one of these guys or girls show up. Number 1, Sally Show-Off. Not the braggart type, although that is annoying too. No, Sally Show-Off doesn't pay attention and is always showing you her cards. Seriously, stop showing me your cards, alright? Now we have to redraw. Or I could just keep my mouth shut, but why play if you're gonna cheat? I've actually made a rule where my husband has to go look at his secret Hitler cards in the other room because he can't seem to keep them to himself. Yet another reason why there are no spouses in board games. I don't have a husband, just in case you're wondering. No, yeah. Number 2, Double-Dealing Dale. There's no need for a bookie in a friendly game of Clank. Speaking of cheating, Dale, seriously? Are you playing for money? Really? Really? Then you and your friends are just too rich for us. Money or no, don't be that person. It isn't worth losing friends over a game of one-night Ultimate Werewolf. Unless your friends suck, then you should get new ones. 3, the negative Nancy. We all know a Nancy.
I'm not playing this game. I'll never win. This game is too hard. This game is too slow. This game is too easy. This game is too fast. This game is too hard. I never get good cards. Why do we have to play that?
If that sounds like you, stop it. We are here to have a good time, not listen to you complain. 4, distracted Dave. Oh, yes. Dave is never paying attention. Every time Dave's turn comes around, he must be nudged or reminded again and again and again. Maybe Dave is checking his phone, or maybe he is lost in his thoughts. We don't care. You are here to play. Get your head in the game, Dave. Yeah, it's usually it's like their favorite question is basically, oh, is it my turn? And they look at the board and say, okay, what are we doing again? What's going on? 5, sloshed Steve. Our game night group feels strongly about the need for beer, outweighing the risk of spills, but overindulging isn't going to win you any friends, much less a game. Drinking to the point where you are sloppy in your gameplay or make a mess is just not cool, my friend. Just say no. And you just on offset. I mean, yeah, they're naming names. They're putting names in here and stuff like that. You know, okay. I know a Nancy. I know a Steve. I know a Sally. I used to know a Sally. You know, stuff. I shouldn't have to say this, but if this is your name, this blog is in no way saying that you are this. Okay, so don't get butthurt about it. Oh, and speaking of butthurt, number 6 is Butthurt Bob. Bob has forgotten that civilized adults don't throw tantrums when they lose. Maybe Bob got a participation medal for all his little childhood sports. And hasn't learned how to lose gracefully. Whatever. We all win. We all lose. A red face and grumpy Bob brings us all down. Sticky Fingers Freddy. Despite the name, Freddy isn't a master thief. He is a little too focused on the bowl of chips you set out. Some game groups have a strict rule about food on the table, but our regular groups understands the need for some sustaining snacks. We are using our brains here, after all. Yes, we need some fuel, but whatever you do, keep your greasy fingerprints off my secret Hitler envelopes. Trust me, the game's owner will not be able to concentrate if you are trying to use their game cards to soak up the mess on your fingers. Why do you think a lot of cards are sleeved? Number 8, Last Minute Lisa. Everyone is so excited because we are finally getting together to play that 6-player game. Then Lisa calls. She has to cancel at the last minute. Again. Good friends understand sometimes, things come up. Life happens. Just don't make a habit of bailing at the last minute, or you just might stop getting invited to game night. And then you wonder, why doesn't anybody invite me to game night? 9. Boastful Billy. We know. Bill has won all night long. Good for you, Billy. Your mommy must be proud. He just can't help himself from reminding you about his win. Hey, y'all, do you remember that awesome play that I doled out on the last game? Yes, we do remember. Because Billy won't let you forget. Yes, we are all playing for personal glory, and a little victory dance doesn't hurt anyone. Just don't be a Billy, and win with some grace. Know when to shut up about how awesome you are, and try a little self-deprecation if necessary. And finally, Mr. Perfect. Seriously, what is with this guy? He can't lose. He never loses. He doesn't even brag about it. He's just that darn good. It's so irritating. The best solution here is to gang up on Mr. Perfect. Attack so hard that he'll never get out of last place. Everyone deserves a fair shot to win, but not this guy. Nah. Bring him back down to earth. And that is the 10 types of people who ruin game night from letsreviewboardgames.com. I'll put a link in the show notes for this episode. It's episode 8. Go check them out. Welcome back to the Mega Meeple, and this episode we have Ben Dutter. He's from Sigil Publishing, and we just got a successful Kickstarter not too long ago called Clash of Steel. So if you ever wanted to be a medieval knight, or you would like somebody doing fencing and stuff like that, I think this game kind of right up your alley. It takes medieval fighting, and it's a two-player card game. And Ben, how you doing today?
I'm doing very well, thanks.
So tell me a little bit about yourself, how you got started in board games, and where you got the idea of Clash of Steel.
Sure. So I actually have a much more thorough role-playing game background. And Clash of Steel originally was a system I was designing for the combat aspect of a role-playing game some years ago. And I went through a lot of iterations to try to get that as kind of smooth and quick as possible. And back then it involved cards and dice. And there was a lot of mechanical widgets based upon your character's background and, other stats that we're familiar with from role-playing games. But it was so fun on its own that my friends and I and kind of some fellow game designers thought that it warranted being just broken out separately. And so I set it aside for probably 18 months and then came back to it and started from scratch, but just kept the parts that I thought were good. And Sigil Publishing partnered with Nocturnal Media late last year in 2016. And Stuart Wick is a huge fan of fencing and historical European martial arts, as am I. And so it was sort of a natural first step for us to partner a game together that we both felt really passionately about and that leveraged his contacts and printing capabilities in Hong Kong. And so this was a great kind of trial run for hopefully many more card games to come.
Excellent. So you had someone who was actually trained or knowledgeable in this type of combat to design the game?
To some extent. So I was the principal designer, and I'm familiar, at least from a theoretical standpoint. I have always had sort of I don't want to necessarily say a passion, but an intense interest in sword fighting. Who hasn't, right? But I've studied the 15th century German manuals, and I watched a lot of HEMA fights and longsword videos and been to a couple of events and things. So I try my best to be as historically accurate as I can with Clash of Steel while still also paying mind to game playability and balance and those things.
Well, I had opportunity to do print out the print and play and play just based on those cards. And I'd say you found a pretty good balance on that. So it played really well. It was like, I wonder if this is okay. Well, first thing I learned is like if I was ever caught in a medieval battle, I'd lose.
Yeah.
But that was pretty. It's the gameplay is cool. The dynamics and how you build the stamina is pretty cool. The sense of realism, in a sense of, okay, yeah, you're locking horns with one other person, and you don't know how they're going to attack or how they're going to defend or the way they're going to move or what they're going to use. You had a successful Kickstarter, and quite a bit of the stretch goals were unlocked. I mean, all the way up to
Yeah, so some new cards being added, some alternate art on some of the cards being added. How does that hit you? It's like, wow, this thing is really taken off.
Yeah, it was exciting. We had high hopes for the game, but we anticipated, Stuart and I anticipated that we would maybe get 25,000 if we were lucky, and we ended up at 37,700, I think. So, it surpassed kind of our aspirations. It started out as just a quick little, pocket game, like I said, sort of a trial run of what we hope to accomplish in the future. And people really caught on to the idea, and I think a large part of that is up to the quality of the artwork, which was done by Devin Hoyt, who's an excellent artist. I highly recommend him. He's a freelancer. Go hire him. And he paid incredible attention to detail to make sure that the armor and the weapons were mostly accurate, as accurate as we can get in terms of realism to the time period. We focused on 11th to 12th century European knights. And so I was really pleased with the art, and I think that drew a lot of attention to the page. And I was glad that as we unlocked more stretch goals, we got to pay Devin more money and have him make alternate art. So that was one of the cool things that we did with Clash of Steel that I think is less common than some other games, is having an alternate artwork for the players for the same card. So, each player has several of the same, each player could have the sword card, or each player could have the axe card, or the stamina 3 card, or whatever. And rather than just doing that same card illustration for both players for each deck in a different color, say, Devin actually made some changes to the artwork itself. The knight might have a different helmet or be in a slightly different pose and overall different color palette. So it really makes each deck distinct, and each card is a distinct piece of artwork, which I think is really cool.
And can you go over briefly just how the turn sequence works and the mechanics of the games?
Sure. Yeah, so at a really high level, what we were trying to achieve is that the fights are kind of tense and short. And a lot of it is about energy management and how quickly you can exhaust yourself compared to your opponent. And that's where the stamina card comes into play. The goal of each round, essentially, is to achieve the greater force. And the force is the sum of your stamina cards that you play and then all of the other modifiers. And so the modifiers can come into effect from your weapon against your opponent's weapon, what range you're in, if you're arm lengths away or reach distance away, so forth. There's 4 ranges. And all those things add up at the end of the round. And so there's a sequence of you each go back and forth taking turns showing what you're willing to reveal. And there's an advantage of, if you choose to wait, you get to see what the opponent is doing, but then you have to react to them. As opposed to, if I choose to act first, I get to play my card for that specific component of the round, and my enemy has no idea what I'm doing. They can make some inferences, possibly, but they're not really sure if I'm going to do a stance that is strong or a stance that is quick. They may not know if I'm using my sword or my dagger. So there's different abilities like that you can be kind of sneaky with by choosing to act first. And so it's a give and take of being willing to show some cards and possibly dupe your opponent, and being willing to react to what they're doing and guessing right. Because if you both play the same sequence of cards, then it just comes down to whoever had the more stamina played. And once you play your stamina, some of those cards are gone. So if you both just go for broke each time, you're both going to be exhausted very quickly, and then the first person to land a hit will basically win the game.
Not only just using that as sort of like your mana, so to speak, but also just the realism of, the longer you fight and the harder you fight, the tireder you're going to get. So you got to kind of,
exactly.
run a marathon. You got to conserve some of that energy for later if you need it. So
that's right.
Now the Kickstarter is closed, but currently you're able to pre-order the game. Now, if people want to, if they missed the Kickstarter and they want to get it pre-ordered, where would they go?
So you can go to the Kickstarter page itself, and the top the main link when you first land on the page. It says pre-order now. You can click on that, and it will take you to the Nocturnal Media page. Nocturnal Media is Stuart Wick's company and partner, Sigil Film Publishing. They're handling the fulfillment. I handled the design side, so they're doing the printing and shipping and all that. So if you want to pre-order, or if you want to add extra decks or an extra playmat, you can just go straight to the Kickstarter page and click that link, and it will take you right there. If you can't remember that or can't find it, you can just go to clashofsteelgame.com, and it will redirect you to that same page.
And we'll have those links on this episode in the show notes. Thank you so much, Ben, for coming on and telling us about your game, and looking forward to playing it. And congratulations again on a successful Kickstarter.
Of course. Thank you so much. Happy to come on and happy to talk anytime.
All right, no problem. Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening to the Mega Meeple. Again, please subscribe on iTunes and leave us a rating and 5 stars and all that kind of stuff. And if you'd like to support the podcast with hosting costs and stuff like that, you can go to our Patreon page and donate $1 or so. Every bit helps. Now, if you have any ideas of topics to be discussed or things to include in the show, please follow and reach out to me at any of our social media sites. The links can be found on the social media page on our website, themegameeple.com. And also, if you're a game designer or creator and would like to get the word out about your game or Kickstarter, you can contact me via the Contact Us page. Thank you so much, and until next week, this is Tom saying, game on.